It's the Powerhouse Woman Show. You're a powerhouse woman, successful, accomplished, but you know the time has come for something else. To pivot, make a shift, or do what you've been putting off for a long time. I'm Monica Pierre, a media entrepreneur, Emmy Award-winning journalist and coach, and I'm on a mission to help you figure out your path forward and create powerful new stories about your life and legacy. There's more ahead. Time to do the greatest work of your life. Hello, and once again, welcome to the Powerhouse Woman Show. I'm your host, Monica Pierre. And what is your story right now? Is your story about second chances, another chance? We're going to talk about second chances, the impact, and what does that really mean? And what can you create with your second chance? And we're joined by someone who knows a lot about second chances. Put my glasses on here. And she has a powerful story to tell. But her story isn't about one moment in time, but what she is creating now. We're joined by Sarita Stipe, Operation Restoration. She's the founder, the CEO, and the president of it. And she's doing a mighty work. And first of all, we're going to say, I'll check my records, but Sarita, I think you're the very first guest that has been live, not once, but twice on the Powerhouse Woman Show. So welcome again.
Thank you so much. I feel so special.
Well, you are special. Absolutely. We're going to get into second chances, but for those who are not familiar with your story, and 19, you find yourself in a world of trouble. You end up in prison, federal prison. So, can you just give us a quick overview of what was going on with you, where you ended up doing something that, talk about chances, you took a tremendous amount of chance to be a part of this endeavor?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, at the age of 19, I was arrested and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison, 20 years in state prison, and $1.9 million in restitution, all for the same crime. What I didn't know at that time was the journey that I was on. I naively believed that when I finished my time, that I would be able to re-enter society and really just take a hold of my life and do something different. There wasn't any indication at the time of my sentencing that there would be so many other barriers that would be placed, in my way. So not being able to access education, safe housing, employment, those are all of the consequences that nobody ever warns you about that come along with a criminal conviction. So while I was incarcerated, I, started taking classes. I amassed about 36 or 7 hours of college credits. And I just knew that when I got out of prison, I was going to continue my education. I was going to go to school. I was going to get my degree. And then I was going to apply to med school. That was the track that I had set for myself.
So you felt rehabilitated, right? You did a lot of the things that a model prisoner does.
So, no, my story while I was incarcerated, I was so young. I used to fight a lot when I first got there. But I think what happened in prison is that the women that I was incarcerated with saw more for me and for my life. So because I went in when I was so young and I was 19, I think that when I hit about 25, I was like, I can't come back here. This is not the life for me. I don't want to be here. The programming or the rehabilitation that people think happens in prison is not the case. I think a lot of people are successful and make it in spite of the conditions that they are exposed to, while they're incarcerated. So no, I was anything but a model prisoner. People who I meet now that I was incarcerated with, it was like, oh my God, Sarita, you used to do all kind of stuff. And I was an angry teenager. I used to fight all the time. I didn't even understand what had just happened to me, So no, I think me understanding that the system was not built for me or to actually support me or get any of the help that I needed, I was just determined to never go back.
Right. And we're going to talk about the work that you're doing now. We're talking in general about this very interesting topic of second chances. What's your view of second chances and whether or not second chances there's something that someone hands you, offers you, makes available to you, and that you're just the recipient of it? Or do you find that second chances actually start before something you're doing for yourself and you're growing toward that makes those who want to offer you, give you, or even give yourself a second chance?
No, absolutely. I think that, there's this misconception that a second chance is the second time that you're able to start something over or do something different, right? Here at the organization, we talk about another chance versus second chances. But every time you're starting something over, you're on your second chance, no matter how many times you've done a thing, right? But I think that a lot of times what people don't understand is that if someone offers you an opportunity and they're not invested in you taking a hold of the opportunity, it's often as if they haven't given you the opportunity at all because they're not invested in you actually taking a hold and executing that opportunity that was given. But to your earlier point, if I'm not in a space of readiness and reception and being able to receive, or have started doing the work that people see that I am an individual that they want to invest in, or that they want to support, or they want to help to grow, that work starts with me. So I have to be in a posture of reception and being able to receive everything that is meant for me, because if I'm not in that posture to be receptive, then people are not going to offer, or I'm not even going to recognize the offering. So sometimes you're not even in a space to recognize that this opportunity that is placed in front of you could really be life changing if you're not open to receiving it.
Right. And feeling that, or even a sense of worthiness, that this
Absolutely.
is something that you're worthy of, absolutely worthy of. When did you decide that your work would be working with the formerly incarcerated or the incarcerated, or in the beginning, when you had an opportunity and with your healing, did you focus on yourself or did you immediately know that you had to go beyond yourself?
So it's funny. You learn things in stages. I've always been the person to help, support, and want to take care of. Like, it's in my nature. And I did that inside of prison as well as when I was released. I remember, you know, my friends who were getting released right after me, um, sending clothing for them or helping them to get a cell phone and teaching them what I had learned, even before I ever thought about starting an organization. But it was because there were formerly incarcerated women who were released before me who did the same thing for me. So I remember a woman who is now my son's godmother. When I was released from prison, she was standing on the other side of the gate with my mom and my sister. She's the person that walks me through filling out my FAFSA application as a formerly incarcerated person, helping me to get my birth certificate, social security card as a formerly incarcerated person. She literally walked me through those things. And then another woman, who I was incarcerated with for about 4 or 5 years, we were actually roommates. She sent my first telephone. She helped me with my first security deposit on my apartment. She sent me $300 every semester to go toward my books once I started school. So there was kind of like this informal network of support that women were already providing for one another. But it wasn't until 2016 when, after I had graduated from college, I was asked to come and speak at a symposium that was going on and meeting with formerly incarcerated women from all across the country. And they were building this national movement around how women are incarcerated, and it also needs to be a part of the conversation. And I began to travel and I began to be able to see that people were actually doing this in a formalized way, in a nonprofit setting or a for-profit setting. I never even knew that you could start a nonprofit that focused on helping people return to the community or whatever social, justice issue that you're working on. Because the only nonprofit I knew was the church, right? And the
Right.
church doesn't have money. They pass collection plates. They're basically supported by their congregations. It wasn't until I started this journey and someone said, "Hey, do you know Tulane is a nonprofit?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And they're like, "Yes, Tulane is a nonprofit." And immediately I was like, "Oh, well, that's the type of nonprofit I want to build in order to help and impact my community."
Oftentimes when we have a vision, an idea of how we can make a difference and how it can be sustainable, because one of the things I heard when you were talking about the church is that people are moved, but it's not a sustainable model
Yeah.
to help. Were Did it happen right away, or was there setbacks with this particular nonprofit, or the vision that you had for it?
I think it's how you view things, right? So, of course, I've had some challenges. I've had to, readjust. But I think the thing that we have been lucky and we've been blessed with is that because such a large portion of my staff is also formerly incarcerated women, that we don't have the option to quit, right? We have been supported and supported really well throughout this process. My hardest times as far as financially being able to support individuals in the organization, of course, were the first 2 years. So I started the organization in 2016. I didn't receive my first large grant until 2018, and it was a multi-year grant. So it took about a little over 2 years for that to happen. But since then, we have been growing rapidly, and been able to expand our impact as well as our capacity, and all of those things. But growing fast comes with its challenges, it's like building a plane while you're flying. You don't figure out everything that's wrong until it actually shows up and say, hey, this is a problem. The thing that I'm grateful for is that my experiences prior to starting the organization allowed me to understand business and things that needed to happen. I was a supervisor at the hospital prior to coming into the organization full time. So there are some things that I knew that had to be in place prior to starting that have served us really well later. But I mean, I've lost friends, I've lost so many people through this process of just not getting it right all the time and not understanding the full depth of the things that needed to happen and in the time that they needed to. But the thing that everyone knows about me is that my commitment and my loyalty lie with the women who are incarcerated and the women who are being released from prison. And that is my focus. And anything that doesn't align with that vision and that focus has to like move around, So, and that's been some hard conversations to have because when you are building with people that you care about and you love, and sometimes your mission and your focus becomes unaligned, you have to have those conversations. And it doesn't really matter how long we've known each other and how much I love you and I care about you. And I hope that this wouldn't come between us. But my focus and my vision is to make sure these women get an opportunity to change their lives. And everything has to be in alignment, with that. So those are some of like the tough lessons that I've had to learn. But we really, really have been successful. We've been able to impact thousands of women, and then also be able to like talk about what we think scaling looks like and sustainability. So we have been super successful in those conversations, and I know we probably will get into that, a little later, but
Mm. As you were speaking, Sarita, this show is about the women that we bring on, what they're doing, but it's that and more. What you just said, I know without a doubt, is speaking to a powerhouse woman out there, whether it's her business, her nonprofit, her organization that may not have anything remotely to do with formerly incarcerated or incarcerated women and children impacted by incarceration. But you said some powerful things, especially with alignment. And one of the things that we run into is that when we're trying to be all things to all people, give everybody the same amount of energy, we run into trouble and difficulty because, like you said, if it's not part of the alignment and the focus, we have to have a conversation. And I think you just said something that's making sense to somebody who's watching the show. So I want to thank you for that.
thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Alignment is something that you're going to learn that lesson over and over and over again. So the quicker you're able to recognize that you're not aligned or it's unaligned or things have shifted and changed, and even understanding that you could be in alignment with somebody for 5 years, and then in year 6, you're no longer aligned, and you have to be okay with that, and I think that those are the lessons that people don't give us the grace and say, it is okay that you are feeling like you have outgrown this situation, or this situation no longer serves the mission that you're trying to execute, whatever it may be. But we think because most times women, you're loyal, you want to continue to be in support of people who were there in the beginning, people who supported you, people who were your biggest cheerleaders. And, somebody told me something one time, and it's like, you hear different variations of this, but the reason, season, lifetime conversation was something that I understood, but I didn't really understand, until you get into places where your seasons are changing and the reasons are changing, and how that impacts your lifetime. So just always giving people the the ability to say, hey, listen, I understand if our season is over, the reason why you came here no longer exists, and I don't want you to stay in something that you're no longer passionate about. I want to work toward, because like, I am clear this is my purpose,
Mm.
but it may not be your lifetime purpose. It may be your seasonal purpose, or you were here for a particular reason, and the impact that you have imported upon the organization is amazing, appreciated, and all those things. But we got to talk about how can we begin to separate now. So
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's a conversation. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we're almost out of time. I want people to know how to reach you for Operation Restoration. So I know what you did there. You gave us just enough so you can come back for a third time and do a live show. That's okay. I'm good with that. I am fine with that, Sarita. So
yes.
how do people follow what you're doing? You're on panels, you're on summits, you're doing your work. You ran for U.S. Senate in Louisiana. There's a lot. You've done work with former Mayor Morial, the current mayor, Mayor Cantrell. So you're very, very busy, but very, very focused. So how do people continue to find out what you're doing and learn more about your story as well?
Yeah, so on social media, we're Operation Restoration, the OR. On the website, it's www.or-nola.org. The direct line to the organization is 504-684-9222. You can follow us. We're on all social media platforms. And as well as myself, it's just Sarita Stab on all social media platforms as well. So you can always keep up what we're doing through social media or on the website. You can email, you can donate, you can volunteer, you can do all of the things through the website. And we're extremely responsive. So don't send a volunteer form if you don't really want to volunteer, because we're going to call.
Okay. What one word would you give your 19-year-old self based upon what you've experienced? What word would you give Sarita?
Oh, I think I would tell 19-year-old Sarita. I mean, it's two words, but hold on.
Okay, I'll give you some grace. 2 words.
Hold
less
on.
than less than two. Less than three.
Hold on. I think that a lot of times at that age, I thought that I had to be in control of the ride, and not really understanding that I could take the ride and just hold on, because I'm going to get, to the destination. So 19-year-old Sarita definitely wanted to drive and control and knew it all, where 43-year-old Sarita is like, let's just hold on for the ride. It's going to be a great one.
Oh,
So hold
wow,
on.
wonderful. Well, thank you for being with us again on the Powerhouse Woman Show.
I'll see you again when I come back.
That's like farewell just for now.
Just for now.
Thanks so much. Yes. And thanks to all of you for joining us today on the Powerhouse Woman Show. I know you've heard something that you can take and you can use wherever you are, whether it's your own company, whether it's your own leadership role, your thought leadership role. You are indeed a powerhouse woman. So until next time, have a great day. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.